How's it going, guys? Music fan here. How you guys doing? I am phenomenally late on this. I really apologize, but I really want to go on an album review right now while it's still the month of January, as well as also like kind of also this being a tribute to an artist and a musician who has given the world of music so much over the last 4 decades or so. Of course, I'm talking about the now late David Bowie, and I'm going to go on a review of his 25th and final studio album, Blackstar, released the 8th of January, just a few weeks ago. On my hand, I have a Blackstar as a means of tribute to the late David Bowie and his album. And I know it's a little bit not that goodly drawn, but it's what I can make of it. So yeah, let's get talking about this album. Of course, this album is like his David Bowie's first ever album since 2013's the next day, and this album in particular is a whole lot different in the sense that, unlike the last album, David Bowie was dealing with something very immensely real, and that is being at the thresholds of death. For about 18 months prior to his eventual passing, David Bowie was very secretly battling a long fight against cancer, and it was so secretive that not even most people in his own entourage knew about this. Very close people to Bowie, and as well as his doctors, knew about this condition that he had gotten from 18 months prior to his death, and that throughout that time he was battling this cancer very immensely and bravely, I might add. At the same time, was embarking on these various projects, from a musical called Lazarus to the makings of this studio album, Blackstar. And for this album he had recruited some jazz musicians from New York City to help him create this album, which is what we get with Blackstar. And now Blackstar, like, being that the album that Bowie, from his manager at least, had informed that Bowie had intended this album to be a swan song, had intended this album to be a farewell, not only to the world and not only to music fans in general, but his fans especially. And this album is definitely a testament to Bowie's courageous reinvention, and how he continuously always broke the boundaries and always broke the barriers of music and of fashion, of performance, of acting, of almost nearly everything. And yeah, I mean, this whole album is entirely different in the sense that this album is a little darker. This album, for obvious reasons, darker and more mysterious and way more emotionally intense, considering the situation that Bowie was dealing with at this point. And I mean, we have songs like Blackstar, the title track, which starts off this album. It really is a song nearly 10 minutes in length, and that this song in particular, like, starts off with these very weird, strange tones in the beginning of this song. Bowie kind of singing in the most eerie of ways, it's like, and also this track is takes a lot of strange detours in this song in particular, and like in the middle of this song also, they strangely goes into this angelic bridge part, with these very angelic synths, and Bowie just kind of making a commentary. At first, when I heard this song, I thought that Bowie was making a commentary on his iconic status as being a black star, but in light of his passing, this song was mainly saying that Bowie felt like a black star. He felt like a star in the midst of other stars around him that was slowly dimming. His light was just getting more dimmer and dimmer with each passing day. Pretty tough to think about. I'm also thinking of tracks like "'Tis a Pity She Was a Whore." That track also is just so immensely jazzy, like intensely jazzy. Like the rest of this album, Bowie takes a huge hint of presence of jazz music, glam rock music in some way also too. It's this album seems to be like a culmination of all his work, his discography throughout his four and a half decade career at this particular point. This song is also, of course, very energetic. It's very driving. It's very pulsating, and just Bowie's just again his really and his yelps at the end of the song, just kind of like giving away in the end of this song. I mean, this is a pretty fun sounding track on this album. You also have just emotional cuts on this album. Like, I mean, I think of Lazarus, the third track off this album, which of course borrows from the Broadway play of the same name. And of course, if you know the story of Lazarus in the Gospels, is when the person Lazarus is dead in the tomb, and Jesus Christ coming in to resurrect him from his tomb. And this is one of the most emotional songs off this album, just kind of with these very mournful horns in the beginning of this track. You have this really melodic, mournful bass that kind of pushes, that kind of gives this song a very melodious feel. David Bowie's vocal performance here is this old, ragged voice, and yet just yearning, passionate, yearning for life back, and yet at the same time knowing that this condition is slowly eating him away at the seams. What especially gets to me on this track is the song, no, not the song, but the lyric where he says, like, you know, I will be free, just like that bluebird. I mean, it sends chills to my spine hearing that lyric and just kind of thinking in the context of his passing. Intense, really, really intense. This song really has a great musical feel that assists, that complements David Bowie's passion in this song phenomenally well. Like, everything about this song is just emotional in this sense. Like, really, it's intense when I think about it. Tracks also that are intense is also the fourth track, Sue. Probably the most frantic and the most intense of the entire album. I mean, this song is just super intense, just kind of like with these it's just like, I have to admit, the first time I heard this song, I couldn't help but think, are we getting a James Bond tune or something like that? But then Bowie comes in with like these really almost ghostly singing, these ghostly wail in his voice, and it's just so intense and so jarring. The very intense lyric on this album, which gives me chills, is when he says, like, I touch your face, Sue, goodbye. I mean, those lyrics alone is just, I imagine the imagery to that, and it's just so haunting, so creepy. But it's not creepy in the sense that it's horrible. It's, oh my gosh, it's terrible, I don't want to get near that. But it's just to imagine that Bowie was facing death so closely in the face, and putting it on this particular album as well as the videos. It's just almost as if making his death to be an art project. And when I say that, I am not necessarily saying that in a negative way. I am saying that in the sense that he faced and used his imminent death as a way to create something haunting, to create something dark, yet very beautiful at the same time. This track is just so full of like intense musical performances here. I mean, like the very stark, energetic guitar that goes here. Everything here is driving here on this track, which gives way to the fifth track off this album, Girl Loves Me. And the lyric to this song, Where the Fuck Did Monday Go? Bowie passed away on the 10th of January, and to think, prophetic. This album also is very prophetic. Just that lyric alone, just thinking that, like, where the fuck did Monday go? Monday never came around to Bowie because Bowie passed away on that Sunday, and it's emotional to think about. It's jarring to think about, and yet sometimes it really lends to a really intense emotional gravity. But anyway, this track is very kind of like very bouncy. This track is kind of like, and I especially always love David Bowie's vocal when he just goes, "Where the fuck did Monday go?" It's like Gina did Tuesday. I can't do that, but just the way David Bowie just makes those very almost ghoulish high falsettos in the beginning of this track is just kind of like just as a way of him singing is just kind of like, I don't know what I can use to describe that. It's just intense with this track. And yeah, I mean, and the next track as well, like Dollar Days, is also as emotional as this song. Is just so dripping with just like intense emotion, and like every time this song comes on, I can't help but think that it's David Bowie walking in Manhattan in the middle of the night, and he is just reminiscing. He's just walking by himself, reminiscing of his life, reminiscing of what he's going to leave behind. It's just one of those emotionally intense songs off the record, and just as a track that, like, it's just emotional. The lyrics are just so starkingly naked and just so starkingly powerful, and like, I'm dying too. And the song slowly raises up in intensity. It gets more intense as it keeps going along until at the end it almost reaches this very angelic crescendo. And each time it comes to that, I always think of Bowie just being slowly levitating until he hits skyward, and just like this immense ray of light just overtakes him. And that, of course, leads into the final track of this album and of his career, I Can't Give Everything Away. I mean, this track is very emotional. Like, this track is just one long farewell from Bowie to everyone else and to everyone. And this track is just so starkingly beautiful, starkingly angelic. Of course, David Bowie is like, I mean, this song, the way it starts off, that very angelic synth, that very melodious harmonica that starts off this song, and the lyric to this song is like that. It's like, that is all that I wrote, that is all that I meant. I can't give everything away. It's like, whether he can't give up maybe some of his earthly possessions, or he can't give up his music, or he can't even give up his fans that have followed him by for so long. This track, I mean, the other great thing about this track is that guitar solo at the end. It is very Robert Fripp-esque sounding in a way. Like, I mean, that I keep thinking that Bowie is just slowly flying into outer space and just uniting himself with the stars. Yeah, I mean, this is like, just the way this track ends off is just into the stars David Bowie goes, and into his next journey, his next adventure, as he has been doing for the last 4 decades and a half. I mean, really, I could put this album between a 4.9 and a 5. if there's any problem I would have with this album, it's that the production. I mean, the production is great, but sometimes I kind of felt this just a little bit too digital and not so organic to let the horns breathe, or to let the drums pound as hard as they should, or even for the bass to sound as really great, and or even David Bowie's vocal in that sense. But as it is, this album, this album is just so stark. It's just so, it's dark, it's weird, it's emotionally draining at points. And especially when you hear David Bowie's vocals on this album, like sometimes I hear his voice and I think he doesn't have left to give. He's spent himself so much. He's given every last ounce of breath that he can in this song. He feels spent, and by the time we get to I Can't Give Everything Away, he feels finished. He feels that he has done everything he could to leave the best of what he is in this album. And yeah, 4.9, and between that and a 5, yeah, David Bowie, I'm almost even feel very guilty. I feel even ashamed at times to think that I never even though I knew who David Bowie was, I knew his fame, I knew that he was a fantastic legend in the music world. To be honest though, I haven't heard his discography all that much in the past. Like, I mean, I just never felt enticed or ever felt compelled to do so. And and definitely this is really, it's really kind of challenged me in a way to kind of look into his work, to see his discography, to see all his albums, and it's really has given me the idea to embark on a David Bowie discography review, maybe even until the 1-year anniversary of this album in 2017. But yeah, I mean, 2 days after this album released, David Bowie said farewell. He said goodbye and is now in his next reinventive, transformative journey. So Blackstar, 4.9, between a 4.9 and a 5. David Bowie, rest in peace. Everyone is going to miss you. We miss you still, and your music will never be forgotten, ever. Leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think. I'm going to end this video right now before it gets too long. David Bowie, rest in peace. Blackstar. Leave your comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Mr. Music Fan. Take care. Bye.